Well, if love has ever taken you off course from your own personal plans, you are going to so relate to my next guest. Her name is Rachel G. Carrington, and she wrote the book, The Early Years, a memoir. And it is an absolutely beautiful love story about the lifelong journey that God led her and her husband on, despite the plans that Rachel had for herself as a young girl. I want to introduce you to my friend, Rachel G. Carrington. Rachel, welcome. I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you for having me, Suzanne.
Rachel, would you share about the heart behind the book? What is it generally about?
It's about a life that I would not exchange for any other life. It's it turned out to be a love story. I didn't start it that way. It's just our life. But my husband had always urged me to write a book, and I did it after he passed away. And
Mm.
it was really his life as much as mine, even more, maybe more so. But anyway, it is a book that I have gotten from my readers that is has given them hopes that they can do something with their life. It's they in the reviews I've gotten that a lot, that it gave them hopes to look toward working toward what they wanted, and that's what we did. We pulled together. We were a team. Uh, and we had a lot of struggles. But we had a lot of love and affection to see us through. And we had God's mercy. God helped us. We made a plan and we stuck to it. And I would follow along, I must say, because my husband had ideas about what it would take to make a better life for us. And I was afraid sometimes to step out.
Mm.
He wasn't. And he would convince me that we can do it. We can do it. And we did.
It made you a great team. So you were married 62 years. I want to go back to the very beginning when you first met, because it wasn't a perfect way that you met, and it certainly wasn't your plan. Can we spend a minute speaking to that?
Yes. I met him when I was a senior in high. Well, it was between my junior and senior years in high school, and it was at church. And I met him. He got my attention through a paper wad thrown and hanging in my hair at a night that bugs were buzzing all over that were attracted to light.
Yes.
And I thought I had a bug in my hair, and my girlfriend said, "No, it's a good looking guy on the back seat that's throwing paper wads at you."
Oh
Now
my
we were in the
gosh.
front of the church, and my parents were very strict. We didn't look back, so I couldn't look back until we were leaving the church, and I saw him going out the door. He was standing there waiting to talk to me. But there again, that was against my parents. You don't talk to people. We weren't able to talk to boys. I was 16, too young to date.
Mm-hmm.
So that according to their rules, and almost missed getting the chance to meet him because I wasn't answering him. Kept walking, but my sisters were with me, and they kept saying, "He's wanting to walk with you. Say yes."
Now, you wanted to go to school to be a teacher.
That was my plans, and
Yes.
I had my curriculum was set to for college, for
Mm-hmm.
being college bound, and I picked up a major scholarship, which made it possible. Um, but things changed when I met my life love. I couldn't go away from the area, and it meant going away from the area to teach. So whatever, and I didn't want to leave. Ended up
So
refusing my scholarship.
your plans then turned to be God's plans, and
I,
he blessed
that
you with how many children over how many years?
I was 21 when I had my youngest child.
Mhm.
So we started with none. Well, he had three by a former marriage. I had none, but my youngest my oldest daughter was 6 months old when we became a family of four. And
Now,
then
I want to back up just a little bit because part of your story in the book talks about his marriage and how that was kind of forbidden. And we don't have time to get into that, but that is part of your story. But
that is part of the
it was
story.
not part of your plans, but it was
No,
part of God's plans that it would all
apparently,
be
as
part
it
of your
turned out,
story. Yeah.
we realized that.
Yeah.
Yes, and a divorce, marrying a divorced person was just a no-no. My parents were so my plans for marriage did not agree with him at all, and they did not want us to be together and did a lot to keep us apart,
Sure. Sure.
making it to the point that I had to leave home in order to be with him.
What
Um,
what a story. It really is. I mean, you truly had to leave and cleave. And over 62 years, one of the things that stands out to me about the book is how much you relied on God and how you prayed first to be sure that it met God's approval.
that is very true, and that was true back then, especially. My parents were very religious, very strict, but our life was led by God, even with our parents. And my dad's failing as a he drank a lot,
Mm,
but he never missed work, and he always got his paycheck home, and we wouldn't have been able to do without it. We were poor, but everybody else was poor during that time. I was born in the 30s, so I just followed the Great Depression, so
sure.
we didn't feel poor, but we
Right.
knew couldn't afford things. We knew that college costs will not be able to be able to go to college, even though my father would have loved for me to. But when the scholarship came, that was a lifesaver to him. I mean, he was just so happy that I could go, and it was disappointing to my parents
Sure.
but there again, that was God's plan.
Yeah. And you made your decision based on what you felt God's plan was. And look how it turned out. Rachel, I wish we had more time. We're already running out of time.
I
What would
know.
what would one final piece of advice be to we've got about 30 seconds to give to a young couple who maybe are choosing to go God's direction instead of their parents' direction?
Well, they have to pray a lot. That's for sure. They have to be sure that God is in their plans, and then make goals. As
Mm,
a young couple, we made goals, and that's what you make goals and strive for them.
mhm,
And with God with you, it's hard to lose. We felt
yeah,
like that God just let us. We worked hard.
wow,
We didn't mind that,
yeah,
but it was God's plan that we got together, and it's kind of inspirational, I think, to young people. And if you want something, go for it, but make sure it's in God's plans, because you'll have a lot of struggles if it isn't. More
absolutely.
than you can handle, maybe. We had
Rach,
struggles, but we were
yeah,
able, with God's help, to handle them
together to the
together.
end. Rachel, thank you for joining us. Rachel G. Carrington. It is called The Early Years of Memoir. Please purchase it and think about giving Rachel a rating, an honest rating. It helps out a lot. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great day.
Thank you, Suzanne.